Hello guys, good afternoon and welcome back to another exciting Doctor Who review. Now today's review is the first story introducing us to a new Doctor, a new companion, a new alien threat, and not only that, introducing Doctor Who in colour version. Yes, today's review is the first story to introduce Jon Pertwee's Doctor, and it is Spearhead from Space, the one you have all been waiting for. I have really enjoyed these last couple reviews on the 1960s, but now the 1970s we are now moving on to, and Spearhead from Space is one of those stories which I absolutely love. And to be honest with you, it is the best introduction story to introduce any sort of Doctor, especially Jon Pertwee's Doctor. And Jon Pertwee is absolutely fantastic in this, especially with Liz Shaw as well, acting as his scientific advisor of units, who, yeah, she really gets introduced to the whole science fiction element that she completely doesn't really believe at first, but then as the story goes on, she really believes that perhaps all of this is real, and perhaps every sort of human alien being sort of has like a possible explanation. So yeah, and also we have the Autons introduced as a very deadly and very intimidating threat to this story. And I have to say that this story really needed to be successful, because from the 1960s, the War Games was reaching new lows in Doctor Who history viewing figures. And even so, when this story came out on the 3rd of January 1970, the viewing figures shot up immensely high, and people really felt that this was the story to bring back Doctor Who from where it was down in the 1960s to now. And really, this was the story that really needed to make Doctor Who so successful and to bring it back from extinction. And so this story really needed to be absolutely awesome, absolutely fantastic, and really spectacular. Because if this wasn't really good, then they would have scrapped the whole new Doctor idea and would have, you know, cancelled Doctor Who once and for all. But my goodness, Spearhead from Space, truly fantastic. So guys, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the review on Spearhead from Space by Robert Holmes. Exile. The Time Lords have banished the newly regenerated Doctor to Earth, but the Doctor isn't the only alien to have arrived, as a swarm of meteorites have crashed into the sleepy English countryside, bringing with them a new terrible threat to mankind. As the Nestine plans to take shape, Unit, the Doctor, and his newly appointed scientific advisor, Liz Shaw, race against time to stop humanity being replaced by a terrifying plastic facsimile race. It's really interesting, and with this story, it is one of those stories which you cannot deny as a classic, because it is truly a classic introduction story to any sort of Doctor, and especially with Jon Pertwee's story, this really suited his Doctor. Although the introduction was quite good, introducing the meteorites falling down in a formation, really building up the plot, really feeling that, you know, meteorites don't fall in formation, they really just fall randomly, and they don't usually join in pairs and fall together, they really just separate apart, and so you automatically know that something's going wrong here, and perhaps this is a very rare occasion of meteorites falling in formation. So there was loads of strange things at first, and then as the TARDIS rematerializes, and completely, there was a new Doctor coming out of the TARDIS, and people were like, hey, who's he? He's not Patrick Troughton. And as you know from the last story, the War Games, the final episode, Patrick Troughton was actually forced to regenerate into a new Doctor. And so you didn't see Patrick Troughton in there at all, and unfortunately I really wanted to see the regeneration from Patrick Troughton to Jon Pertwee, but unfortunately we don't have that content. This was really fantastic, and I think the introduction of finding the Doctor down near you know, forests and woods and stuff, then the meteorites fell down, and really created some kind of awareness and panic. So like, are these meteorites causing of, you know, something happening? Is it like a potential alien life form or part of an intelligence, an unusual intelligence, you know, beyond mankind. So people were really getting quite suspicious of what these meteorites were. And then the Doctor, of course, he was out cold for like most of episode 1 because the regeneration was still going on, and he really needed, you know, some time and rest to recover from the regeneration process because he still couldn't think properly. But then, you know, he recognised Leopard Stewart very, very quickly. Now this is very strange. In the story, John Pertwee recognises Leopard Stewart very, very easily. But then later episodes in the story, he sort of said to Leopard Stewart that he's lost his memory. But how come he knew Leopard Stewart at the time where he said like he lost his memory? So perhaps it's the Doctor going a bit wild really, and he either loses memory for, you know, for a few moments and then suddenly remembers everything again. So perhaps it's something like that. But I really have to say that John Pertwee was actually really good for the first episode. A very unknown, you know, person in the hospital, having 2 hearts, a blood type is very different, and so the people in the hospital automatically knew straight away that this person isn't actually a human. It's actually like an alien being. And instantly the press comes in and then, you know, really asks a lot of questions to Leopard Stewart and also to the staff. Is there a person really from outer space? Is he connected to these meteorites? Nobody knows for sure. There was loads of mysterious characters introduced, especially Channing, who I have to say, him right there, if you can see him right there, Channing. Now his character was very disturbing and very creepy. Like, he sort of had like some kind of stare when he looked at his staff, especially Herbert. When Herbert saw Channing, you know, staring at him, he knew he was like under some kind of, you know, hypnotic trance or something, and so which made him agree with Channing and, you know, disregarded anything else of what, you know, other people were saying. He really agreed what Channing was actually saying to him. So the story's actually really, really interesting. At first, it was, you know, like the Doctor was trying to get used to his regeneration. He was sort of out cold for most of episode 1. The Brigadier, you know, introducing a new scientific advisor to UNIT, Liz Shaw, who, yeah, at first doesn't really understand the entire space and time and aliens don't exist thing. She really doesn't believe all of that. She really bases around science and facts. She doesn't really believe in space, time and science fiction and stuff. But then as the story goes on, she sort of feels a bit of sympathy and she really starts to believe that perhaps every aliens or galaxies out there could have a potential life form. So she really gets quite interested in all of it. And so this show is actually quite good in this. So yeah, I have to say that with episode 1, it's actually a really, really good introduction episode. And really introduces us to the meteorites and how they could be connected with the Doctor, or it could be a potential plan to conquer the entire world. It's almost like an invasion of meteorites. Nobody knows for sure. There's loads of questions going on in episode 1, and you all want those answers, you know, quickly at the start of episode 1. But yeah, it creates so much suspicions, really creates a very, you know, disturbing, a very strange atmosphere. And then you've got Channing again, very creepy and disturbing. And I think when he was standing in the booth for quite some time, not looking at the phone, he was just standing there, like, for some strange reasons. He felt very disturbing and very creepy. Episode 2 really went full into overdrive and really continued with the entire plot. Although the Doctor managed really to, you know, get out of hospital because he really didn't really want to stay in hospital and really just be treated with all these stupid humans trying to treat him as like a normal human patient and stuff. So he really wanted to get out and he completely stole some clothes, had a bit of a, you know, funny... I think that one moment which I quite liked, that when they were actually filming the hospital with the Doctor, they actually found a quite unusual shower, which the Doctor absolutely loved, and also Derek Sherwin, the producer at that time, really decided to use that shower for a scene or something. I thought it was quite funny, just to see, you know, the men looking at John Pertwee having a shower. It was very disturbing, I thought. But yeah, it was very funny, and I think John Pertwee in this story is really funny and very charismatic. He has a very great sense of scientific knowledge that Liz Shaw and the Leopard Stewart doesn't have. And so really they both have, you know, some kind of idea on like who this person is. But the Brigadier sort of has this kind of recurring thought that this must be the Doctor because he travels around in a police box, he has 2 hearts, he's not like any other human, and so the Brigadier automatically realises that this must be the Doctor. But although he might have changed his appearance, but the Brigadier actually has a few suspicions on who this person could be. It could be a complete stranger, or it could have been the Doctor, but had a new face to him or something like that. So the Brigadier was actually getting quite used to the Doctor having a new face and being back on his feet again. Because, of course, Patrick very lively at times, but Jon Pertwee was completely different to him. So the Brigadier was trying to get used to Jon Pertwee as being the Doctor, and really had so many suspicions on, you know, could the Doctor come back, or did he want the Doctor protected? So he had loads of suspicions on going round. And then we had the introduction to the Autons roaming around in the forests and having so many creepy and disturbing moments within the story. I have to think that the music is absolutely spine-chilling, along with the Autons' movements, secretive movements within the forests. And really, in the factory is really creepy. No matter when I, first saw the first viewing seconds of the factory making dolls, it's fine like that. You know, it was almost like a continual process of making dolls. But then when Channing was staring at Herbert for some odd reason, it really knew that something's actually going wrong here. And Channing, very creepy and very disturbing, sort of has like a hypnotic trance over Herbert and makes him believe that, he must, understand and also follow what Channing orders him. But in the end of episode 4, he has this potential in order to resist Channing, because the Doctor was trying to give him some talk on how he could resist Channing and stuff. And so Herbert really felt that he was in a position of where he couldn't really do much. He was morely there just to support Channing within his plan and, understand what the process of using these Autons were for. And so I have to say that the Autons are absolutely creepy as ever. I can hardly take my eyes off them. Like, even so, if you go into a shop window and you see, shop window dummies, and you see them coming to life, twitching and moving, you honestly realise that these are killer shop window dummies that are actually coming to life and trying to destroy you. Now this is the really creepy moment that I have to say, that episode 2 cliffhanger is absolutely so creepy. I just love it. I just really love it. I think that's the best cliffhanger from this story, really, of where Ransom was looking around in the security sector, and instead when he looked inside, he found all of these Autons standing in line, completely identical, and then he completely had a look, search around, and then suddenly I saw little twitchings and twerks from the Auton moving and, slowly moving towards Ransom. And I knew straight away that a creepy cliffhanger is going to happen right here, right now. And so, yeah, the cliffhanger is really, really frightening, really terrifying. And I think the Autons are absolutely terrifying still. Even so, from that cliffhanger, they're just still monstrous and so intimidating. And even so, in the cottage houses, destroying all the carnage in the house and trying to find all the meteorites and collect them back down to Channing and Herbert so they can use the meteorites almost like to increase and improve the Nestine's consciousness and to make it a supreme intelligence. So that was the alien life form behind the story. The Nestines, they're almost like part of an intelligence life form in the story. The Nestine, they're quite strange. They don't have an individual identity. They all have the same identity. Like, they all have the same, face. They all moved quite the same. And yet, even so, they completely look identical. So almost like the same with the Autons. Although in the fourth episode, where the Autons are actually coming to life and actually breaking the shop windows and they're actually killing people in the streets, all of the Autons seem very, very different in their appearance, but they all act as a unit and they can't be destroyed as a group because they are completely indestructible. So this is what I like about the Autons, and I think they should use the Autons more often because they're so underrated and they have a potential to become a really intimidating threat. And I really like this story for what it is. And the Autons, really, really creepy and intimidating. Really great, gets the story going with all the blood and terror. And really gets the audience so in a behind the sofa moments. So it really creates some kind of panic, some frightening moments within the story. And there was including one part where the driver or like a soldier in like a truck was actually driving, and then suddenly an Auton completely came out of nowhere and completely attacked the truck, and the driver inside the truck almost had his neck broken and smashed through the window or the windscreen, and had like blood coming out from his face, and it was really a gory moment there. I really felt a bit, you know, scary, a bit too inappropriate for children to watch, because it almost felt that, you know, blood introduced into TV, it really creates some horror, and it really puts, you know, children into a scary, panicky moment, because it really gets quite scary for children to watch. But overall, the story is really fantastic, and I think the plot line's really great. It really gets, you know, it strengthens up time and time again within each episode. It really starts to get going, and the Doctor, Brigadier and Liz Shaw really understand now what's happening here, and decide to take some action, and decide to go to the plastics factory and investigate there what's actually happening. So. And then the Doctor tries to rig up some kind of difficult machine, and tries to completely destroys the Nestines and the Autons from, you know, working again. And so if you destroy the Nestines, you destroy the Autons. Simple as that. The Doctor and Liz Shaw finally had a weapon to use against the Autons and destroyed the Nestines once and for all. And also in the end, we automatically find out that Channing in the end is actually an Auton. He was just an Auton all this time. He was a talking, real life, but almost like a very human Auton. So I really decided that, can Autons actually talk? So perhaps they can. So that creates a lot of questions really for many of the viewers, that can Autons really talk? Do they have a sense of purpose? And of course they can. They're an army force. But also, if they use that army force for great reasons, for taking over the world, they can potentially become rulers of the entire galaxy. So yeah, I'm going to give this story a 9.6 out of 10, because it's really fantastic, and it's a great introduction story to a brilliant Doctor. Jon Pertwee's Doctor is brilliant in this, very charismatic, very funny, and yeah, has a great way of thinking on how things are supposed to go, has great scientific knowledge, and really gets into the story really quickly, and really becomes the Doctor in episodes 3 and 4, and really becomes that heroic figure that we know that Jon Pertwee is. I think Liz Shaw is also pretty good. She also has some great scientific knowledge within the story, and yet so she tries to believe that what, you know, the aliens and, you know, artificial life and stuff like that actually exist. And so she was a bit, you know, unsure on how these life forms can exist on Earth. Like, they have no scientific purpose, no proof at all. She believes on facts. But as the story went on, she kind of believes that now, as every sort of planet, they sort of have an intelligent life form. And she's quite intrigued by that, which I quite like. So yeah, I have to say that the Brigadier in this is also really fantastic as well. Although they had on 2 occasions the Web of Fear, where the Brigadier was introduced, and then they had the Invasion, which Unit was completely introduced. And so the Brigadier was the only person who knew the Doctor and completely took care of the Doctor. He was very kind, very generous, but yet had that soldier personality and expectation that he all had, that ability to lead and become a really firm leader in this entire operation. So he really felt as a firm leader. And I really liked Brigadier in this, because with Jon Pertwee and the Brigadier working together so well. And Unit, I think Derek Sherwin really wanted to exile the Doctor to Earth, because he was really getting sick and tired of doing loads and loads of, you know, alien stories with loads of alien planets and stuff like that. And so he really wanted some Earthbound stories to really intrigue the viewers, instead of getting quite confused with all these alien planets. He really wanted to be back on Earth, to do Earthbound stories and make them so enjoyable as to convince the audience that alien life form can actually appear on Earth. It's not only once or twice that can happen, it can actually happen several times. So it actually gives, you know, some good points on how alien life forms can actually arrive on Earth and actually can become a big threat of Earth. So Earth is actually getting quite recognised now as a potential invasion force for other life forms to invade and take over. So yeah, it definitely feels like that this is the start to an Earthbound era, because Jon Pertwee, as in the last story, the War Games, the Time Lords exiled him from Earth, and they've completely changed the dematerialization codes, which prevents the Doctor from actually using the TARDIS and actually transporting and dematerializing off to another planet or so. Because the Doctor really feels like that Earth is not his home. He really feels like that exploring the entire galaxy and the TARDIS is his home. But unfortunately, the Doctor can't go anywhere. He's actually stuck on Earth, and so he can't really escape, or he can't really, flee at all. He's just really, stuck in one time, in one place, and he just really feels so isolated. I would have to say Spearhead From Space is a really great story, and Jon Pertwee is absolutely fantastic in this. He's really fantastic. The Autons are brilliant, really creepy and sinister as ever. Channing, he's really disturbing, really creepy as well. And I think that the hospital, which was a great setting, and even so, this entire story was actually based on location filming. Unfortunately, the BBC were actually going on strike, so they had to use location filming to film this entire story. And as for location filming, they certainly did a fantastic job on this. It's really fantastic, and many people would have to consider this as a classic story. It is absolutely a classic story in Doctor Who. And of course, it's a really great introduction story to introduce Jon Pertwee, Liz Shaw as a companion, and also the Autons as well. And then also introducing colour for the first time in Doctor Who. Colour television is just really brilliant, and with this story, it really created the sense of Doctor Who's back again. It's, revitalised from its, downright lows from the war games and its viewing figures, and it completely shot up and really became a really fan favourite in the 1970s, and many people really got back used to enjoying Doctor Who again. So yeah, Spearhead From Space is a really great story, and I have to give it a 9.6 out of 10 for its absolutely fantastic work, and to be brought back as a fan favourite of many people. And Spearhead From Space was absolutely a brilliant story to introduce the 1970s in colour version and to introduce Jon Pertwee's Doctor. It is absolutely fantastic, and it is a classic story. It's a really fantastic story, really spectacular. So guys, that's my review on Spearhead From Space. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do give a like, but also comment your views on this entire story, and also please do subscribe to my channel if you are new. And so guys, that is the first story of the 1970s finished and out of the way with. So now we are moving on to our next story, which will be Doctor Who and the Silurians. And so guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next review, which will be Doctor Who and the Silurians. See you guys then.